Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. I developed an amusement park and turned it into an Air Force training base crossing parallel worlds. Tang Yi obtained the amusement tycoon system and created the top-tier amusement park. Complete tasks and reward various amusement facilities. Happy little plane crazy spinning around diving battle. At first, I thought it was a regular amusement facility. As a result, we agreed on a small plane. Surprisingly, it is the 6th-generation fighter jet flight simulator. Crazy spinning is a space training centrifuge. Diving operations are underwater unmanned aerial vehicle combat systems. Tourists unconsciously master various military skills while playing. Okay, then let's open the business. Play some excitement. At the same time, receiving tourists can also earn excitement points and access various black technologies. After opening, Ace Pilot Experience Flight Game Cabin, Practical Flight Level, increased by 30% within a week. The Special Operations Team, experiencing live CS and props, surprisingly has the most advanced individual combat system. The astronaut walked around the amusement park and the next day released the Mars landing plan. The situation is getting bigger. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. I develop an amusement park and give me aerospace training. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Yi climbed down from a futuristic flight simulator with a pale face. That's right. It's just climbing. Would you try to withstand a flying G.value of 5 GS instead of you? Is it so big? Tang Yi gasped for breath, his eyes filled with excitement and a hint of madness. I am just a small indoor amusement park owner. What we need are some slightly stimulating, fun and entertaining amusement equipment that can attract guests. Instead of ASCII.FI 6th-generation fighter jet flight simulator. It's like a little cow riding a plane. Bull criticism has gone up to heaven. Tang Yi was so excited that he waved his fists. I have been traveling to this world for over half a year now. On the day of his journey, Tang Yi activated a amusement tycoon system. Will assist the host to become the world's top super amusement tycoon. And Tang Yi's first task is to build his own amusement park, regardless of its size. For this reason, Tang Yi mortgaged his old house for 2 million yuan. Subsequently, a 5-year agreement was signed with the Coastal Park Management Office in Lingyun City, leasing an idle warehouse of approximately 200 square meters. It took 2 months to renovate a mini indoor amusement park. At the end of May 2022. After signing the contract and renovating, Tang Yi ran out of money completely. Fortunately, the beginner task was completed and the system rewarded a welfare gift package, which includes basic gaming facilities projects. Tang Yi came to receive things today. At first, Tang Yi was a bit worried when he saw the amusement facilities, equipment, and project names rewarded by the system. Happy little plane, what kind of thing is this? Tang Yi has carefully examined the market in the past 6 months and knows that the group faced by amusement parks now is mostly young people. What do young people like? Crazy roller coaster, life and death jumping machine, unforgettable pendulum. Or have a great swing in hell. People fly in front, souls chase behind. As long as it's stimulating enough, you can definitely make money. But this happy little plane. Is it just a spinning airplane that can be seen everywhere in the park and played by children? It's too ordinary, isn't it? It takes a monkey year and a horse month to repay the 1 million loan. Tang Yi opened the door dejectedly and walked into his indoor game park. In an instant, he was stunned. What appears before us is a futuristic fighter simulator. I can only see its appearance, which is quite similar to the current appearance of the Dragon Country J.20, but with more abundant technological elements. The exterior color coding adopts starry blue and huaxia red, combined with 5 shining stars, giving a sense of sacred and solemn solemnity. The volume is approximately 3.8 meters long and 4 meters high. The main body of the flight simulation module is made of unknown materials. Take a careful observation. Tang Yi was a bit stunned. Sleeping slot. Is this a game console? It can't be. Tang Yi was puzzled and experienced this flight simulator. So there was the opening scene. Tang Yi collapsed on the floor, sweating profusely and his eyes shining brightly. The complexion gradually turned from pale to bright red. It's so fun. A full 10 or so minutes. He just regained his energy. After sitting in the simulator just now, Tang Yi felt like he was completely driving a Real fighter jet. A white sonic boom cloud condensed within, roaring and blooming. The real and exciting flying experience, with boiling blood, made Tang Yi exclaim in joy. Wow, this flight game simulator is simply unbeatable. Closing his eyes, Tang Yi reviewed the system in his mind, which contained the instructions for the Lingyun flight game simulator. Originally, this flight game simulator is divided into beginner mode, advanced mode, expert mode, and professional mode. At this moment, Mind System prompts. Please open the official business of your UU World Amusement Park within 1 week. If the total number of tourists received exceeds 100, reward the amusement equipment with Crazy Tour. Every tourist playing in the amusement park will generate pleasure and excitement points, and the host will automatically obtain random skills, black technology props, and so on. To exaggerate. After obtaining various skills, Tang Yi can completely build his own 6th-generation fighter jet. Upon hearing this, Tang Yi was delighted. Then there was a bit of confusion. Happy Little Plane is a fighter flight game simulator. What would it be like to go around wildly? He clicked on the instructions to take a look. Almost didn't startle my chin. Isn't this a training centrifuge used by astronauts? Tang Yi almost burst out. He has watched a documentary on aerospace science popularization, which mentioned that in order to exercise their physical fitness and withstand stronger gravitational acceleration, pilots or astronauts usually undergo high-speed rotating centrifuge training. The system rewards a crazy spin, and its functions are similar. Absolute stimulation. Can this rhythm is a bit off. It's a fighter jet flight simulator again. It's the game version of the space training centrifuge again. What other amusement park do I open? Why don't we just set up an aerospace training base? But no matter what Tang Yi could expect is that once the happy little aircraft is launched into the market. Absolutely indiscriminate killing. Hee hee. I'm getting rich. A scene flashed through my mind of tourists constantly streaming in, counting money until my hands were soft. Tang Yi couldn't help but laugh. Which man? Can you refuse the temptation of personally piloting a fighter jet and chasing dreams into the sky? The next few days, Tang Yi immerses himself in the flying game of this happy little plane every day. From being a novice pilot at the beginning, I gradually became familiar with the various operations of piloting fighter jets. By this time, Tang Yi is already able to withstand 6G flight simulations, and his performance is gradually improving on the aircraft's rating platform. On the other side, with the help of the system, Tang Yi also obtained the Amusement Equipment Access Certificate. If there's nothing unexpected, we can officially open for business tomorrow. Tang Yi pondered in his heart. Those flight enthusiasts both domestically and internationally would definitely go crazy if they knew about the existence of such a sky-shattering flight simulator. I'm definitely willing to spend a lot of money to experience it. Tang Yi, however, overlooked one point. Ordinary people just need to play with this flight simulator. What about real fighter pilots? The first day's data is very important. Whether we can survive depends on the support of the old iron workers. Seeking flowers, tickets, and collections. Chapter 2. Welcome to Lingyun Flight Game Simulation. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The next day, at 9 o'clock in the morning, the UU World Amusement Park has quietly opened. Because it is backed by the coastline of Linhai City, the beautiful environment of the seaside park, coupled with the fresh and romantic beach, has attracted many citizens to choose to visit and relax here. At this moment, Tang Yi has been guarding the entrance of his amusement park since it opened. But his amusement park is located in the most remote area of the seaside park. Moreover, due to the lack of advertising, tourists generally do not come to him. Tang Yi originally intended to shout out a few times, but later on, he decided not to do so. For those who enjoy thrilling flying games like this, there is no reason not to praise them once. And the key is, the system pricing is too exaggerated. Happy little airplane, start playing 500 times. Most of the 5D game cabins in the amusement park, such as simulated flying machines, cost only a few tens of yuan to play once. Our ticket money is definitely worth it. But ordinary tourists, probably not many are willing to spend this money. Until 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Tang Yi didn't even see a fly. At the same time, to be honest, seaside parks are more suitable for couples to date and relax. We've all played motorboats and bikini surfing, but we didn't find it exciting anymore. I'm looking for something interesting to share with you all. Shark live streaming platform. Tan Kur was streaming live on her phone while strolling around the seaside park. As a top streamer on the platform, Tan Kur's popularity is quite high, and the number of online viewers in the live broadcast room has always been around 200,000. I saw her delicate and beautiful facial features, with a fair oval face that was incredibly sweet. Her figure was about 1.65 meters, exuding both the grandeur of a northern girl and the shyness of a southern girl. Her long black hair spread over her shoulders, adding a touch of fatigue and charm to her. At this moment, Tan Kur walked to the southeast corner of the seaside park, where a punk-style house was located. UU World Amusement Park. It seems to be an indoor amusement park, with only one type of activity on the bulletin board at the entrance. Happy little plane. Tan Kur muttered to herself. Haha, happy little plane, it sounds like a children's playground. Kur's childlike innocence is still alive. I think we can give it a try. Sleeping slot, have you seen the introduction of the game items? The ticket price is 500 soft coins. The barrage rhythm suddenly reversed. Black shop. Taking a small plane for 500 soft coins. It's a good way to attract customers. Upon seeing the barrage, Tan Kur finally saw the ticket prices for this indoor amusement park. Sleeping trough, I hate to see such unscrupulous merchants the most. Tan Kur licked the yogurt cap and walked confidently towards the amusement park. Ticket office. Tang Yi is both the boss and the receptionist, dozing off in a daze. Hey, this game you're playing, 500 at a time. Tan Kur walked over and asked with a sneer. Tang Yi woke up and looked at the graceful figure in front of him. He smiled slightly and said, not bad. Hee, are you crazy about money? Tan Kur directly retorted, 500 yuan is enough for me to play all the projects at the seaside park. Who's playing with that thing with you? Upon hearing this, Tang Yi was not angry either. Yuan said, if you don't give it a try, how do you know if it's fun? Tang Yi also noticed that this woman seems to be a live streamer, with an assistant next to her recording on her phone. Hee. Tan Kur's beautiful eyes widened. Okay, 500 is 500. Tan Kur curled her lips and playfully took out her phone to scan the QR code for payment. Haha, Kur is going crazy. During the 12315 call, 200,000 soldiers joined the anchor in sweeping down this black shop. What kind of thing is this? No matter how fun it is to spin a small airplane, it's not worth 500. It's definitely a scam. At this moment, the barrage exploded. Netizens are excited. Please come inside. Tang Yi stood up calmly and welcomed the guests in. Tan Ke walked into the indoor amusement park. Subconsciously, my footsteps paused and I stood still. Sleeping slot. Not just her. At this moment, 200,000 online netizens in the live broadcast room also saw the scene inside for the first time. I saw an 8-meter long and 4-meter high simulated fighter jet placed in the center of the field. I won't talk about the appearance. Compared to the appearance of the Dragon Country J-20 and Eagle Empire F-22, they both look much cooler. This. In the live broadcast room, Barrage suddenly appeared with rows of wide-eyed expressions. Boss, you. Tan Ke was also stunned. After a while, she reacted and turned her head to look at Tang Yi with a strange expression on her face. Otherwise, I dare to take you 500. Tang Yi chuckled and said, I've already told you in advance that this is the top-level virtual reality technology. After getting on the aircraft, it will mimic the flight of a real fighter jet, and the normal cruising speed is just that. Entering supersonic cruising, and even performing some maneuvers, the fighter jet will bring players a real neural response, such as G.value overload, and in severe cases, even coma. Of course, the simulator will constantly monitor your heart rate and body characteristics, and if there are any issues, the game will be terminated as soon as possible. Tang Yi smiled as he handed over a document and said, if there's no problem, sign this one. Tan Ke is a bit confused. Looking down, it was a responsibility agreement. The live broadcast room exploded again. I'll strangle it. Is it necessary to sign a personal safety responsibility agreement for playing an indoor game? Brothers, don't mention it, there's something about this flight simulation game cabin. It's so damn cool. Some netizens, on the other hand, collectively roared. Is this boss bragging? A flight simulator with real G.value feedback. How could this be possible? Even the most advanced fighter jet simulation systems from around the world cannot achieve this. ITM actually shamelessly wrote on the simulator that the 6th generation fighter jet, Lingyun. I don't deny that the appearance of this fighter simulator immediately moved me, but the gameplay of this game shows. Is it the result of the game's mishap? In the barrage, netizens roared and Tan Ke became accustomed to it. With a blink of an eye, Tan Ke signed her name on the consent form for personal responsibility. Hee, I want to see how amazing your little plane is. Can you really make me fly into the sky? Tan Ke pouted at Tang Yi. If you dare to play tricks on me, wait for the fake to compensate 10 times. Regarding this, Tang Yi remained calm and unhurried. He gave a faint smile. For the first time playing, we will activate beginner mode for you. One-click automatic flight, with one supersonic cruise in the middle and one Cobra maneuver. The G.value overload does not exceed 5 gs, enjoy it well. Give me your phone and help you link virtual images, so that the viewers in the live broadcast room can see the scenes you have experienced. Say it. Tang Yi helped Tan Ke into the cockpit of the Lingyun. The next moment, Tan Ke sat in the driver's seat, with the fully leather-wrapped seats automatically bouncing, extending a strange material anti-G suit that perfectly fits her body at the most perfect angle. Following closely, the pilot's helmet slowly descended from above. The entire simulation cabin seems to have undergone changes in building blocks, with a white 3-dimensional anisotropic fluorescent screen rising inside the cabin, and the control panel automatically adjusting. The size of the flying helmet automatically retracts, perfectly fitting with Tan Ke's head in the darkness. A few seconds later, the virtual interface appears in the line of sight. A deep and powerful voice rang in Tan Ke's ear. Welcome to the Lingyun Game Flight Simulator. This system fully simulates the 6th generation fighter jet, where you will experience a different journey of fighter jet flight. Below are flight instructions. Chapter 3. Do you call this a small plane? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Old ties, is this game interesting? The person is inside the simulation warehouse, Tang Yi didn't forget to say to the water friends. Then take a deep breath. Tang Yi followed the instructions of the simulator and opened the main control panel of the Lingyun flight simulator. This game's flight simulator is equipped with a 20 degree of freedom overload simulation, which is no different from a real aircraft. At the same time, through special neural sensing devices, simulate the real g-value, gravity acceleration. If the player has any adverse reactions, the simulator will automatically terminate the flight simulation. This flight simulator has the most advanced fighter data package and can perform beyond visual range air combat, close-range combat, ground attack, carrier takeoff and landing, aerial refueling, interception missions, night flight and other game modes. Having a visual system, communication module, highly intelligent computer system, flight platform, back-end evaluation system. Firepower system, equipped with microwave weapons, laser weapons, air-to-air missiles, etc. Under the introduction of the aircraft system, Tang Yi was stunned. In the live broadcast room, 200,000 netizens were also filled with the sound of lying down. Mom, it feels so professional just by listening. As a military fan, I can only say that this simulator is awesome. The game modes equipped inside are very rich, advanced, and not inferior to the military's flight simulation system. Kor's wife, don't be fooled, start now. At the same time. Outside Tang Yi, touch the button to activate the one-click driving flight experience mode. Tang Yi's gaze flickered as if she was on the airport apron, and the voices of the tower personnel could be heard in her earphones. Look around. The blue sky and white clouds in the virtual scene are so realistic that it makes one's scalp tingle. With her right hand on the control stick, a cold metallic touch came through, and Tang Yi trembled and called out to lie down. Allow takeoff. It's like driving a Real fighter jet. After a series of self-checks, the aircraft starts its engine. The variable cycle Aerospace engine exploded with a loud roar, causing a simulated tremor inside the simulation cabin. The long sky sheds its sheath. The sixth-generation fighter jet, Lingyun, was catapulted into space. My mom. The barrage in the live broadcast room completely exploded. Due to the Link simulator, all netizens saw this clear scene. The fighter jet flew high into the air like an eagle. The picture is incredibly realistic. At the beginning, the Lingyun has entered normal cruising mode. In my sight, there is a blue sky and white clouds. I'll strangle it. Tang Yi was stunned for 2 seconds, completely stunned. Trembling all over. Following closely. In novice mode, the Lingyun fighter jet sprints at an altitude of 12,000 meters in a normal cruising state. Brothers. Is this really a game? I feel like I'm flying in the sky lying down. Tang Yi screamed with excitement. Water enthusiasts were also amazed and exclaimed, just looking at the screen, this virtual technology is simply amazing. Anchor, speak quickly. How was the experience? Listening to the barrage broadcasted verbally in the live broadcast room, Tang Yi reluctantly gathered her mind. Then he trembled and said, it's very real. This feeling is indescribable, it's like really piloting a fighter jet. Ah ah ah. Tang Yi let out a scream. At this moment, I am completely immersed in the pleasure of piloting a fighter jet and soaring in the sky. Whose children, without a fighter plot? This is to defend the country's blue sky, the long sky sword. Defend the enemy from 1,000 miles away. How magnificent. Although Tang Yi is a daughter, she also has the lofty ambition of defending the country and lifting the sky. And now, to my surprise, I am experiencing it so realistically, piloting a fighter jet. She was so excited that her whole body trembled. 2 minutes later. In one-click flight mode for beginners. The Lingyun entered supersonic cruising mode. The white sonic boom cloud condensed in the body, roared and bloomed in the sky in an instant. Following closely. The Lingyun fighter jet in the picture switches to maneuvering mode, quickly pulls the control lever backwards, and the nose instantly tilts between 110 and 120 degrees. The scene suddenly exploded throughout the audience. Crouching slot, Pugachev maneuver, Cobra maneuver. My mother asked me why I was kneeling down to watch the live broadcast because I had taken it. Look at the dashboard, the data shows that the fighter jet has entered a maneuvering state at a speed of about 425 km per hour, followed by swordsmanship at a speed of over 148 km per hour, and finally decelerated to 110 km per hour. It is known that the speed change is 148 km per hour, which is 41.11 meters per square second, so the radial overload experienced by the pilot is about 4.18 g. Sleeping trough, the god upstairs. At this moment, Tang Yi's live broadcast room has exploded in popularity, with nearly 1 million netizens pouring into it. Everyone saw the footage in the live broadcast room, their blood boiling to the point of confusion. Because it's too real. Just looking at that picture, their scalp feels numb, there's an illusion. I am piloting a fighter jet myself. How magnificent. Under the first person's vision, the sky twists and turns. Breaking through the sonic boom sound at supersonic speeds. Everything is so real and tangible. Unbelievable. Some netizens trembled and murmured, as if appreciating the first visual image captured by a real fighter jet. And within the flight simulator, Tang Yi's feelings are even more profound. After a flight time of 5 minutes and 40 seconds, the flight simulator detected that the player's heart rate had climbed to an abnormal state. This is when we switch to the return state. 30 seconds later. Flight simulation module, pneumatic cockpit cover ejected. Tang Yi was limp all over and crawled out of the simulator cockpit. The voice trembled and let out a long scream. Boss. You call this a little airplane? The first day's data is very important. Whether we can survive depends on the support of the old iron workers. Seeking flowers, tickets, and collections. Chapter 4. Explosive across the internet, startling the military. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Yi remained calm and said, "This can't fly into the sky, isn't it just a small plane?" Tang Yi is completely speechless. The live broadcast room exploded. Sleeping trough, my dear wife, why don't you say it's fun? Damn it, just through the screen, I feel incredibly stimulated. Can you give me an address? UU World Amusement Park. Wait, come over right away. After a while, Tang Yi, who had regained her senses, let out an excited scream. Old ties, this game cabin is so. He is so funny. It's killing me. But it's absolutely thrilling. Tang Yi said in a trembling live broadcast room. How to put it, it's the real experience of piloting a fighter jet. It's so great. Every cell in the body feels so refreshed, it's never been so refreshing in my life. After all, in real life. As an ordinary person, how could one experience the feeling of piloting a fighter jet? And now, the extremely cool gaming cabin in front of her allowed her to experience this kind of experience. Boss, I need to experience it again. Ignoring the water friends in the live broadcast room, Tang Yi said directly to Tang Yi. Glancing at the other person. Tang Yi glanced at the external interface of the simulator and said, after all, you are an ordinary person, and my aircraft simulates real flight. You just experienced a G.value overload, and your heart rate is too high. I need to rest for at least 2 hours before I can continue playing. No problem. Tang Yi nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. After experiencing a fighter jet flight, she was completely fascinated by this feeling, and now she is afraid that Tang Yi will bring back the previous incident and not let her play. Boss, there was definitely a misunderstanding just now. I can assure you that this is definitely not a black shop. 500 yuan to play once, it's really worth it. Tan Ke hurriedly said again. Upon hearing this, Tang Yi seemed to smile rather than smile. By the way, boss, can you become a member? Or do you support a day-off package? Tan Ke excitedly asked, I'm from Linhai. Your game cabin is so fun, I have to play it every day. And at this moment, in the live broadcast room, many water enthusiasts who are bored and idle in the coastal area are already moved by the wind. It's possible to become a member, but it's not possible to have a free day. Tang Yi refused at once. After all, system tasks and rewards are evaluated based on the number of visitors and players received by one's own amusement park. It's not feasible for a big dog to take care of everything in his place. Okay. Tan Ke lowered her head in disappointment. Ding, Yi Xiaomei has brushed a super rocket for you. At this moment, Tan Ke heard the gift prompt and quickly shouted, yeah, I remember you were right by the sea. Come to the seaside park here, there is an amusement park called Yu World. The game cabin here is really amazing, simulating real fighter jet flight. You can't imagine how amazing it is. I dare say this place is definitely going to be hot, Sister Yi, come here quickly. Tan Ke hurriedly recommended it. On the other end of the internet, Yi Xiaomei raised her eyebrows. Her name is Yi Xiaomei, and she is also a top-tier live streamer on the Shark Live platform. She is good friends with Tan Ke. Coincidentally, she was also conducting an outdoor live broadcast today. Seeing Tan Ke's live broadcast room so popular, she immediately rushed towards the seaside park. You're still a big anchor, thank you for recommending me. Tang Yi glanced at the popularity of Tan Ke's live broadcast room and couldn't help but laugh. Boss, that's agreed. You need to let me play a few more times. Tan Ke pleaded. Line. Tang Yi smiled and introduced himself, just call me Tang Yi. Just speaking. There was a sudden commotion outside. I saw more than 10 tourists rushing towards him. It should be my water friend in the live broadcast room. Tan Ke glanced and said. Business is here. Tang Yi clenched his fist excitedly. Looking at those heads one by one, it felt like pink banknotes. Half a minute later. Come on, everyone line up. Experience 500 soft coins in a flying game cabin for 5.10 minutes. Refuse to try if you have heart disease, high blood pressure, or other illnesses. If there are no issues, sign a responsibility agreement. Tang Yi shouted out. And Tan Ke, the big anchor, volunteered to serve as an employee to please Tang Yi, helping him maintain order on the scene, and so on. Sleeping trough, I finally saw Kuer's wife. Anchor, aren't you procrastinating? Is this game deck really that fun? Happy little airplane, TSK TSK TSK, this amusement project is truly artistic. Netizens joked. While queuing up, curiously staring at the extremely cool fighter jet flight simulator in sight. The first netizen in line is Qin Hao, who is now sitting in the cockpit. After the same sound of lying down, the cockpit cover closed and Tang Yi activated the beginner's one-click flight mode outside. And then 5 minutes later. Qin Hao's face turned red, his scalp tingled, and he crawled out of the cockpit, also feeling weak all over. Sleeping slot. Too damn exciting. Qin Hao gasped for breath and screamed. Tan Ke quickly aimed the camera over. Qin Hao's face turned red and his eyes were blurred. Although he stepped down from the flight simulation module, he seemed to be still immersed in the pleasure of dominating the blue sky. The next one is me. The second person in line was a fat man, who excitedly raised his hand. Your physique is a bit troublesome, and you can only experience normal cruise mode. Some special effects, such as roll maneuvering, floating leaves, and cobra maneuvering, are definitely not good. Tang Yi murmured a few times, and as the other party was feeling uneasy, he waved his hand and said, "Go in." 3 minutes later. The cockpit cover popped open, and the fat man's eyes were filled with tears, so excited that he burst into tears. I never imagined that in my life, I could even fly a fighter jet once. The fat man was so excited that he collapsed on the ground. It's too exciting. In less than 2 hours. Under the promotion of Tan Kur, a big anchor. The amusement park opened on Tang Yi's first day was instantly popular across the internet. The fighter jet flight footage captured from Tan Kur's live broadcast room was spontaneously uploaded by netizens to major website platforms, with an instant click-through rate exceeding 5 million. Less than an hour. Over hundreds of thousands of comments. Indeed, in that scene, the Lingyun fighter jet galloped through the sky, like the figure of the Iron Wing Divine Sword, which was so wonderful. When the back camera transitions to first-person vision, the lifelike scene and various hyper-realistic flight features are presented one by one. Countless netizens have been conquered. Sleeping trough, is this really the effect that a flying game cabin can present? It's really fake. The post said that this game cabin can simulate G.values and even experience fighter jet supersonic cruising and other modes. What a deception. The special effects were done well, who did it? The Air Force conscription promotional video, it's not possible without you. Netizens are discussing it as a joke. Of course. It is undeniable that the first visual flight footage of this fighter jet is too realistic. At the same time, a military research institute located at a base in the Eastern Theater Command. Zhao Dingshan's face was speechless. Just this afternoon, in less than 2 hours, the online public opinion center collected tens of thousands of pieces of information. Among them, keywords such as fighter jet and Dragon Country's 6th-generation fighter jet have appeared densely. The command center was so frightened that it felt like a formidable enemy, thinking that the military's secret research plan on fighter jets had been leaked on the internet, causing such a large-scale discussion among netizens. Wait until we find out later. Everyone in the command center is a bit confused. The news was reported to the research institute and placed on Zhao Dingshan's desk. After carefully browsing it, he was completely speechless. Is there so much commotion? It's true that an amusement park in Linhai has just opened and launched a flight simulation game cabin. However, due to a live broadcast by a certain anchor, it became popular throughout the internet. Zhao Dingshan, 56 years old this year, is a national treasure-level aerospace research expert and also the person in charge of the Longguo Lingyun program. However, seeing behind, Zhao Dingshan's expression became somewhat solemn. Is it a coincidence that a small amusement park launched a flight simulation game cabin named Lingyun? Zhao Dingshan moved secretly. After all, the research plan he is responsible for has never been disclosed to the public and belongs to the military's SSS-level top secret. And is this amusement park just a gimmick or an experience of flying 6th-generation fighter jets? Zhao Dingshan regained his senses and shook his head with a smile. The current merchants are really absurd and mischievous. Zhao Dingshan sighed. My mind is lost in contemplation. The characteristic conditions of the 6th-generation fighter jet are exceeding the 5th-generation stealth capability and supersonic cruise capability. Equipped with active defense systems such as small lasers or missile interceptors. The radar adopts a source-phased array radar, a highly intelligent perception computer, capable of connecting satellites and a large number of drones, and controlling the airborne small command capability of multiple drones. Simultaneously paired with variable cycle aerospace engines, it has more powerful weapon capabilities, and so on. This is the main feature of the 6th-generation fighter jet. If it is really a 6th-generation fighter jet, even if it is just a flight simulator, the significance it contains cannot be estimated. But it's probably impossible. Even the military's research on the 6th-generation fighter jets is still in the experimental and exploratory stage. Just send someone to take a look. After pondering for a while, Zhao Lao's calm personality still made him pick up the phone. Dial the phone number of a certain special flight squadron in the Eastern Theater Command. There is no need to send professional researchers to investigate such unfounded matters. Hello, Lao Li, I have something to do. I need someone from your flight base to come and take a look. On the other end. The person in charge of the flight base who hung up the phone looked stunned. After a while of reflection, he muttered, coincidentally, the wife of Captain Lu Yuan of the 2nd Flying Squadron came to visit her. Seaside Park. This kid hasn't been with his wife much throughout the year, so he happened to let them schedule a meeting and complete the task. The person in charge immediately dialed Lu Yuan's phone and smiled as they opened the door to see the mountain path. Lu Yuan, you are the ace pilot of our base. On the other end of the phone. A calm voice sounded, Sir Yi, please speak. The message personally conveyed by Mr. Zhao from 507 requires you to personally take a look, which is related to the 6th-generation fighter jet. Cough. Don't misunderstand. Actually there is an amusement park near the sea that has launched a flight simulation game cabin, claiming to be the 6th-generation fighter jet. I know you're a bit confused, not to mention you, I'm also confused. Anyway, you happen to be on vacation, so I'm going to take your wife to the seaside park for a walk. It's not a big deal, after all, netizens can be quite disruptive now. Chapter 5. The first day of business ends and received high praise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Linhai, Bund. Lu Yuan calmly hung up the phone and looked at his fiancée A.E. beside him. Do you have a task now? The fiancée A.E. said gently, go ahead. Then you go back to the hotel first. Lu Yuan nodded calmly and turned to leave. If Chief Yi were here, he would definitely curse Lu Yuan for being a clumsy person and not understanding the charm. He asked Lu Yuan to go to the seaside park. Didn't he just want the couple to schedule a meeting by the way? This kid is good. I heard he has a mission, so he just left alone. But those who have served in the military know that this is actually Iron Man's tenderness. Just turn the tenderness towards his wife into tenderness towards the country. Half an hour later. Lu Yuan arrived at the seaside park. Before coming, he browsed through the news on his way. I also know the reason why the higher-ups are so concerned. How could a small amusement park use the gimmick of simulating 6th-generation fighter jets to create such a huge public opinion? Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. My heart is also much easier. Upon arriving at the scene, Lu Yuan was suddenly a bit stunned. At the entrance of the UU World Amusement Park, there is an old queue. All the netizens who received the news today, as well as some tourists who were attracted by this huge commotion. Sorry, ticket sales have stopped today. Tan Ke is making a guest appearance as an employee, maintaining order on the side. Not selling tickets anymore. Lu Yuan frowned. Yes, sir, as you can see, there's a long queue in front of us. It's already 7 p.m. and it's open until 9 p.m. These people just finished their fun. If you want to experience it, please come over tomorrow. Tan Ke said with a smile. In the Barrage Live broadcast room, everyone was joking. The anchor is too lacking in integrity, right? He was bought by a small game cabin. Hee, you don't understand. This indoor amusement park is already popular all over the internet. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuan didn't say anything. Glancing around, I heard the first few tourists who had just experienced gathering together, excitedly discussing. Sleeping in a groove, it's so exciting. Not only does it have a great body feel, but this VR technology is also amazing. It's really lifelike. It's my first time piloting a fighter jet, it's amazing. Speaking of which, we are all playing beginner one-click flight mode. It is said that until now, no one has switched to manual flight mode. Although this is a flight game cabin, it has all the operation modes of the fighter jet. It restores flight operations 1.on.1, and ordinary people don't have the opportunity to get in touch with those. But this device is a bit impressive. I can also be considered a fan of the Puppet Army. This game deck is called the 6th generation fighter jet, and I found that it is actually equipped with the 6th generation fighter jet system recognized by various countries around the world. It's so professional. Listen to everyone's discussion. Lingyun went from being casual at the beginning to having a serious expression. He just realized. The public's evaluation of this game deck is surprisingly high. It can even be said to be extremely fanatical. Appreciate all the features of this flying game deck they have played with the most gorgeous vocabulary. Lingyun followed and raised his eyes. Looking at the screen in front of the game cabin. The screen plays the player's first-person perspective. In less than half a minute. Lingyun's heart trembled. There's something there, and at this moment, Tang Yi is excitedly receiving tourists. Almost everyone was pale and trembling, yet extremely satisfied, excited as they emerged from the cockpit. Boss, cow. This is the best flight game simulation cabin I've ever played. This 500 is worth it. Boss, do you think I have a private photo of a civil aviation flight? Can I switch to manual operation mode now? Tang Yi casually exchanged a few words with this fanatic fan. Not really, even if you have a private civil aviation license, if you want to operate this simulator alone, you need to play for at least 3 hours to master it. After speaking, he waved his hand and said, next up. Thinking in my heart. Should this be the 42nd or 43rd tourist? Is this turnover over 20,000? Sent it. Sent it. Also. The system says that for every tourist received, you can receive pleasure and excitement points. This can be exchanged for a lot of black technology and props. Tang Yi was filled with joy. It's just that this will be too busy to check, so we can only receive tourists first. Busy working until 9 p.m. The moon is bright and the stars are sparse outside. After the last tourist in line at the entrance experienced the flight simulation game and left excitedly, Tang Yi finally breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, two beautiful women. You've been very helpful today. Tang Yi looked at Tan Kuo and Yi Xiaomei with sincere gratitude. If it weren't for two people helping to maintain order and receive tourists today, he would probably be extremely busy alone. Tang Yi, I don't care. At least you need to give me 20 minutes of gaming time tomorrow. Tan Kuo bit her lips lightly and said, today, I'm exhausted from helping you. Me too. Yi Xiaomei was on the side and said with a bright light. She arrived after 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Tan Kier, out of sisters' affection, gave her place to experience in the queue. As a result, Yi Xiaomei was completely conquered by the game cabin after some experience. It's easy to say. Tang Yi smiled and said, alright, it's open tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. You two can come over and help. From now on, outside of business hours, you can both experience a half-hour flight simulation. Seriously. Upon hearing this, Tan Kuo and Yi Xiaomei were overjoyed and agreed with Tang Yi before happily leaving. Hey, I'm turning to two beautiful anchors as employees. This business is not losing. Tang Yi chuckled to himself. Then he lifted his eyes and looked outside the amusement park, at a group of tourists who were reluctant to part ways, or even showed signs of longing and couldn't bear to leave. Alright, everyone, our store is closing now. If you want to experience real fighter jet simulation flight, please hurry up tomorrow morning. After speaking, Tang Yi smiled and waved his hand, then pulled down the gate and prepared to close it. Outside the door, a group of tourists sighed and sighed. Hey, you're late. Sleeping trough, I must queue up tomorrow. Damn it, I watched it for a few hours today and it tickled my heart to death. The moment the iron gate falls. Tang Yi suddenly let out a sigh. He saw it. Not far from the door, a tall figure with deep starry eyes stared straight at him. What a sharp gaze. Tang Yi's heart moved and he couldn't help but murmur. After closing the door lock. Tang Yi had no idea. The figure of a military ace pilot slowly disappeared in the darkness. And on the other side. Lu Yuan did not go far. Today, he observed for several hours at the entrance of this private amusement park called Yu World. Seeing many tourists, their expressions excitedly descended from the flight simulator that seemed to come from the future, each showing shock and satisfaction. Combined with observations of that flight simulator. The conclusion drawn. Make him feel a little moved. Take out your phone and report to your superiors. Due to queuing reasons today, I have not experienced it yet. I will continue to observe and obtain first-hand measurement information as soon as possible. Send this text message. Lu Yuan's figure stood in place like a long spear. At this moment, there was only one thought in Lu Yuan's mind. If someone really develops a 6th-generation fighter jet. How good that would be. Our great country is rising. J.X10 formation in the long sky. Yun X20 Kunpeng spreads wings. The J.X20 was born out of nowhere. Looking up at the blue sky of the Dragon Kingdom, the Dragon Warrior Eagle has never been so dazzling with stars as it is today. Are we the first country in the world to develop the most advanced 6th-generation fighter jet? From this moment on. Our dragon country. Why fear the enemy? Fifth watch. The first day's data is very important. Whether we can survive depends on the support of the old iron workers. Seeking flowers, tickets, and collections. Chapter 6. Black technology from the system, seeking flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. And here. Tang Yi simply tidied up and brewed a bucket of white oak cup noodles. Support domestic products, start from me. And tonight, he plans to sleep in the amusement park. After all, this Lingyun flight game simulation module has caused such a big commotion today, Tang Yi can't rest assured to leave this treasure in the store. After filling the stomach. Tang Yi dug out a simple lazy bed and placed it in an empty corner of the shop. Lie on top of the whole person. Exhale a long breath. I'm exhausted. But today's harvest is incredibly rich. Tang Yi carefully settled the accounts. On the first day of opening, we received 51 tourists and achieved a turnover of 25,500 soft coins. The business in the store will definitely explode in the future, and with the development of other amusement facilities, it will easily exceed 100,000 yuan in a day. Tang Yi was so excited that he grinned. Of course. Tang Yi didn't forget, today's biggest gain. Close your eyes and communicate with the system. Today, 51 tourists contributed 5,100 points of pleasure and 10,200 points of excitement to me. Does the host initiate a lottery? The system prompt sound will sound accordingly. Tang Yi carefully examined the rules. Every 5,000 points of pleasure can be drawn once to obtain props and items. Every 10,000 excitement points, you can draw a lottery to obtain black technology skills. System, confirm the lottery. Tang Yi said without hesitation. A few seconds later. The system's ethereal prompt sounds again. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the 5 senses enhancement pill. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the top technology template for aerospace engines and the design drawing for variable cycle engines. Line trough. Bull batch. Tang Yi suppressed his excitement and checked the instructions as soon as possible. 5 sensation enhancement pill. It can enhance the 5 senses to a certain extent, including remote vision, hearing, touch, perception, and responsiveness. With a thought, Tang Yi chose to extract the item and a white pill appeared in his palm. Tang Yi did not hesitate and chose to swallow it. In an instant, a strange force surged throughout his body, and at that moment, Tang Yi felt as if his whole body had changed. There's something there. Tang Yi can feel his 5 senses, and in an instant, it has increased by at least 50%. Does this mean that in the future, when I land on a flight game simulator, my control of fighter jets will become more sensitive? Tang Yi's heart was pounding. But this is not over yet. Does the host enable the fusion technology template? Open. Tang Yi chopped the nail and cut the iron. Host activation, integrating top aerospace engine research technology templates. 1%. 2%. 100%. Congratulations to the host for mastering top-level aerospace engine research technology. With the sound of system prompts coming up one by one, Tang Yi immediately noticed the abnormality. He only felt a massive energy merge into his mind. Formulas, sets of data, and design templates were all crammed into his memory, as if enlightened. In an instant, Tang Yi completely learned all the technological knowledge needed to develop top-level aerospace engines. Even on this basis, Tang Yi has completely become a top aerospace engine engineer. The great law of technology is truly remarkable. A few seconds later, Tang Yi smiled leisurely. The next day, at 9 o'clock in the morning, Tang Yi opened the iron door and was instantly startled. Sleeping trough, so many people. Tang Yi was as stunned as a wooden chicken. I saw a bunch of people already lined up at the entrance of my own amusement park. Roughly speaking, the team is at least 100 meters long, with a grand queue of over 100 people. Finally opened the door. Boss, I'll give you 10,000 yuan. I'll book a reservation today. Hee, bumpkin, I'll pay 20,000. Alright, you all stop arguing. Tan Ke took Yi Xiaomei's arm and walked out with a smile on her face. If you want to play games, just queue up honestly. If the boss doesn't accept the package, he'll take it for granted. After saying these words, Tan Ke turned her head to look at Tang Yi, showing a bright smile. Tang Yi, good morning. Morning. Tang Yi glanced at Tan Ke and Yi Xiaomei, and responded with a smile. Tan Ke's outfit today was very eye-catching. She was wearing a slanted shoulder hollow-out sweater, revealing her round and fair fragrant shoulders, paired with a black vest and summer light white jeans, paired with small white shoes. The temperament is very elegant and refined. And Yi Xiaomei, on the other hand, is the dressing style of the imperial sister. The black leather jacket and pants, paired with that high-end face with a poignant style, also showcase a different charm. Hello, brother Tang. As a senior sister, Yi Xiaomei greeted her sweetly. Okay. Tang Yi responded with a smile and waved his hand, it's just opened now. There are too many people queuing up, so hurry up and take care of them. Okay. The two women smiled sweetly. There's no way. Since experiencing a flight simulation game yesterday, they have been completely conquered. At this moment, my mind is full of thoughts on how to please Tang Yi, playing many times. If that's okay, then let's get started. Tang Yi said, looking at the person in first place. Immediately, he was taken aback. It's you. Tang Yi recognized that this person was the man with sharp eyes from last night. Boss, buy a ticket for a 10-minute experience. Lu Yuan said calmly. Tang Yi quickly reacted and said, my game cabin is a real simulation flight, completely simulating an altitude of 10,000 meters. Are you sure you can handle it? Don't worry. Lu Yuan confidently replied, took out his phone and scanned 1,000, then said, switch to manual operation mode. Upon hearing this, Tang Yi's heart twitched. Turning his head, He carefully glanced at the guest in front of him again. Are you a pilot? Tang Yi suddenly had a flash of brilliance. There is still one sentence left in my heart that hasn't been spoken. This guy. Definitely a military pilot. Lu Yuan smiled rather than responded. See here. Tang Yi followed with a smile and said readily, okay. Immediately, the game deck of Happy Little Aircraft was switched to manual operation mode for the first time. Although you are a pilot, this simulator relies on the system settings of the 6th generation fighter jet. It is recommended to start in beginner mode. Tang Yi finished speaking, shimmering with light, and made an invitation. Excuse me. Lu Yuan let out a calm voice and climbed up the simulated cockpit along the iron frame. A clicking sound sounded. Lingyun 6th generation fighter simulator, entering game mode. The tourists queuing outside suddenly froze and became excited one by one. And Tang Yi, sitting in the driver's cab, suddenly had a mental shock. Hey, the sound of the cockpit cover closing is so similar to the sound of the J.X-20 cockpit cover closing. Explain the similarities between the cockpit structure and a real fighter jet. Additionally, Lu Yuan scanned the surroundings inside the cockpit. The scalp instantly numbs. It's too realistic. As a military ace pilot, Lu Yuan immediately judged that every instrument in this cockpit, from the dashboard to the control stick, was not much different from a real fighter jet. Even Lu Yuan felt a palpitations in his heart. The instruments inside seemed to need to be more advanced. But how could this be possible? Lu Yuan's emotions were fluctuating. Suddenly, he felt as if his whole body was immersed in a comfortable ocean, and the leather seats in the driver's seat perfectly wrapped around his body. Following closely. The control console extends and retracts like a building block, perfectly enveloped by a nanoscale anti-G suit that pops out of the cockpit. From above, slowly descend a futuristic flying helmet. Automatically fits perfectly with one's own face. In the darkness, a sudden burst of light bloomed. Welcome to the Dragon Country Lingyun, the 6th generation fighter jet flight game simulator. Virtual interface, quietly appearing before our eyes. At that moment, Lu Yuan widened his eyes, with only 2 words in his mind. Sleeping trough. 10 seconds later. On the familiar yet eerie console, Lu Yuan pressed the engine start button. Pushed the joystick forward 1 step. A huge sensation of pushing back struck. The countless sound effect units hidden in the simulated cockpit emit a variable cycle aerospace engine, which roars and trembles like the sound of a dragon. The Lingyun took off. And the real feedback it brings. It was Lu Yuan sitting in the driver's seat, as if driving a real J.X-20 aircraft, with that fierce driving force more than twice the driving force. In an instant. This immersive and incredibly realistic flying sensation. Lu Yuan couldn't help but scream in his heart. Lying trough. Horizontal groove. Is this TM a flight game deck? How could this TM be a flight game deck? Chapter 7. The shock of ace pilots. Seeking fresh flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Flight Simulator. The external screen provides real-time feedback on the game experience of the player. After Lu Yuan started the engine, the Lingyun took off. Everyone on site, subconsciously holding their breath, stared straight at the flying scene. This guy is definitely a military fighter pilot. Tang Yi's brilliance flashed. Taking the 5 senses enhancement pill, his 5 senses were much stronger, and he vaguely sensed a trait that ordinary people could not possess from Lu Yuan. Plus at this point, Lu Yuan landed in the flight simulation module and switched to manual operation mode. Being able to fly a fighter jet into the sky based on real mimicry is enough to illustrate many things. I just don't know this person, how is their flying level? Tang Yi pondered to himself. And at this moment, The surroundings were already in an uproar. Sleeping trough, this person is a master. Besides the boss, he was the first person to fly a fighter jet into the sky in manual mode, right? TSK, as a military enthusiast, I can only say that this person cannot be underestimated, and may even be a retired fighter pilot. Upon hearing this, the tourists are boiling again. What is he doing? 1 minute later. Everyone looks at the 6th-generation fighter jet of the Lingyun in the picture, with varying speeds. Suddenly filled with doubts. He is conducting a test. Tang Yi smiled and stood up to educate the queuing tourists. As he stared at Lu Yuan's flight simulation screen, he smiled and said, "Everyone, this flight simulator in our amusement park uses the world's top civilian flight simulator technology. Especially the game theme of Flight Simulator is to simulate the 6th-generation fighter jet and engage in various flight modes. What are the characteristics of the 6th-generation fighter jet? Firstly, it requires a longer range and longer cruising ability, which requires lower engine fuel consumption and less resistance. So, this requires the 6th-generation fighter jet to have a different engine system, which should have both the high thrust characteristics of the turbojet under supersonic conditions and the low fuel consumption characteristics of the turbofan under subsonic conditions. The current aerospace engines cannot achieve such contradictory performance, but in games, it's not necessarily the case." Tang Yi gave a mysterious smile. "Crouching slot, boss, do you mean that the fighter jets in your game use the variable cycle engine system of the 6th-generation fighter jets?" Some military enthusiasts and tourists excitedly inquired. "That's how the game is set up, just have a good time." Tang Yi laughed heartily. Terminated this topic. If we continue to talk more, it is estimated that he will be caught and sliced by relevant institutions on the same day. And at this point, Lu Yuan landed on the flight simulator, and the time has passed by 2.5 minutes. According to the data panel displayed on the screen, Lu Yuan just performed a set of maneuvers, with a G.value of 5G, but the simulator's biological monitoring system did not provide any relevant warning prompts. Explain that the other person's physical fitness is different from that of an ordinary person. Tang Yi once again popularized science with a group of tourists. Our flight simulator perfectly presents G.value feedback, and can reach up to 18G according to different modes. So, people with poor health should not try it. Otherwise, they will be hanging from an old age star. Living impatiently. Tang Yi joked with a smile. And what is the G value? It's the gravitational acceleration. In daily life, the acceleration and deceleration of a regular sedan are less than 0.5 grams. Bungee jumping is less than 1 G. Civil aviation aircraft are less than 2 G, Formula F1 is less than 3 G, and the same goes for roller coasters. In general, a healthy adult male without training can withstand a maximum of 6.5 grams. At 5G, people will feel dizzy and nauseous, and robust athletes will faint at around 7.5 G. Speaking of this, Tang Yi smiled and said, "Our player is obviously trained." Flight simulator, inside the cockpit. Lu Yuan held the control stick, his expression turning red, and his eyes bulging. This flight simulator. It's really amazing. In just a few minutes, Lu Yuan felt like flying a real fighter jet and experiencing a different kind of flight. It's completely different from him driving the J.X-20 in the military. This flight simulator. How to say it? It can be said that more smooth. Moreover, Lu Yuan discovered that this simulator, like the advertising at this amusement park, has multiple special situation flight modes. Night flight, coordinated operations commanded by aerial drones. The fire control system simulates electronic interference, foil deployment, ejection training, photoelectric mode, and stealth mode. This futuristic 6th-generation fighter simulator, with a strong sense of technology, has over 300 different spy flight modes and can perfectly simulate various spy flights. Bad weather patterns such as snowfall, rainfall, thunderstorms, and sudden drops in cloud thickness and pressure are not a problem. At this point, Lu Yuan has chosen the thunderstorm weather flight mode. Lingyun, shuttling through thunderstorm clouds 1.5 minutes later. Lu Yuan's ears were buzzing and his brain was blank. No. This man from northeast China let out a roar in his heart. At the same time, simulate the system image, at a height of 12,000 meters, under the interference of thunderstorm clouds. A serious warning sound was emitted from the cockpit of the Lingyun fighter jet. Lu Yuan's eyes were bloodshot, and under extreme powerlessness and effort, the Lingyun fighter jet was carried into the sea. The flight ended with a duration of 8 minutes and 52 seconds. The supersonic cruise was 960 kilometers, and the flight score was rated as 32 points. The player's current score is ranked first. Amidst the cold warning sound of the system, Lingyun Flight Simulator, cockpit cover automatically pops up. Lu Yuan collapsed in the cockpit, sweating profusely. After looking up for a long time, he showed an extremely shocked and ecstatic expression. "Brother." Tang Yi stepped forward with a smile on his face and a burning gaze. "How about my flight game simulator? It's quite exciting, isn't it?" Lu Yuan remained silent, still in a daze. "What's wrong with the old iron? Don't play down, hurry up." On the contrary, the tourists on the side were all anxious and wished to experience it quickly. This is the 6th generation fighter jet simulation aircraft. For a long time, Lu Yuan finally realized and kept sucking in the cold air. But how could this be? Even the Military Science and Technology Research Institute cannot achieve this. Lu Yuan trembled incessantly and murmured, "Even if it's a simulated flight system, the current technology can't meet the conditions for the 6th generation fighter jet to be out of sight." But me. What I just experienced is clearly the simulation flight of the 6th generation fighter jet. That surpasses today's military simulation flying technology, although it is based on game settings, but it is so realistic. But this technology so it appeared in a small amusement park. In a game cabin called Happy Little Plane. I'm so special. Lu Yuan was completely lost. What's wrong with this guy? Your experience time has passed, hurry up and get up quickly. The players queuing up are cheering again. Amidst the impatient urging of the crowd, Lu Yuan was lost and trembling as he crawled out of the simulator cockpit. "Alright, next person." Tang Yi quickly helped the other person and then waved his hand to let the next tourist sit in the game cabin. "Are you okay?" Tang Yi supported Lu Yuan and sat down on the side. "Boss." Lu Yuan regained his composure and asked directly, "Where did you get this flight game simulator in your store? Although our amusement park may seem small, there is a research and development team behind it that built it ourselves." Tang Yi is ambiguous and ambiguous. Lu Yuan was immediately stunned. Following a whoosh, he stood up and ran out with a thud. After running to a deserted place, Lu Yuan suppressed his excitement and tremblingly dialed a phone number. "Wang Lao. I need to report a top-secret, important information. It's related to the 6th generation fighter jets." With the authority of Lu Yuan's ace pilot, he is fully qualified to connect with the highest person in charge of the Special Operations Flight Base of the Southeast Theater Command. Immediately in the encrypted phone call, Lu Yuan informed the other party in detail about everything he had just experienced. "What?" Upon hearing this, Wang Changlin's eyes suddenly widened. "You said you were an ace pilot who witnessed a fully functional 6th generation fighter jet flight simulator device in a folk amusement park." The old man who was awarded the rank of Major General now had a shocked expression on his face. 7th update. The first day's data is very important. Whether we can survive depends on the support of the old iron workers. Seeking flowers, Tickets, and Collections. Chapter 8. The Wuzhi 10 formation arrives, blocking the amusement park. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After hanging up the phone, Wang Changlin took a deep breath. Immediately, contact Zhao Dingshan from 507 through an encrypted phone. Lao Zhao, you asked us to complete a task earlier and we have the results. Wang Changlin briefly said, I will send you an email through the internet, take a look. Immediately, I sent the simple explanation written by Lu Yuan over. Okay, thank you. Zhao Dingshan replied. Curiously, I opened my computer email and focused on reading it. Equipped with a 20 degree of freedom overload simulation, it is no different from a real machine. At the same time, through special neural sensing devices, simulate the real G.value. With the most advanced fighter data packages and over 300 special situation flight modes. The most important thing is 100% realism, in the words of intelligence investigators, is no different from driving a real plane. And this machine gives him a feeling. Except for being unable to fly into the sky, other virtual systems have fully achieved the effect of a real aircraft, surpassing the true J.X20. This Zhao Dingshan finished reading and continuously sucked in the air conditioning. I followed up and checked the information of the reporting personnel. Lu Yuan, the captain of the Special Flight Brigade of the Southeast Theater Command, piloted the J.X10 and J.X20 fighter jets with a total duration of up to 2,500 hours. He has won 2 Air Force Annual Golden Helmets honors. Absolute ace. Such a person cannot report false information. Zhao Dingshan took a deep breath again and couldn't sit still. Close your eyes slightly. Recalling in my mind, over the past 2 years, I have worked more than 600 days and nights. Countless failures, countless setbacks. And at this moment, as if there was a dawn shining in front of him. Open your eyes again. Zhao Dingshan's brilliance flashed. Pick up the phone and give instructions. I am Zhao Dingshan, as the overall leader of the Lingyun plan, issuing the following military order. 1. Please rush to the Haiban Park in the Eastern Theater Command's Linhai Wuwei Brigade to carry out the blockade work. 2. Notify Chief Engineer Lin of Aerospace Industry Group and Vice Dean Wu of Lonka Academy to rush to Linhai immediately. 3. Investigate information about a person named Tang Yi. 2 hours later. 3 military Wuzhi 10 and G8 transport planes converged in the coastal airspace and merged into a helicopter formation, flying towards the direction of the seaside park in a grand manner. UU World Amusement Park. At noon, 3 hours have passed since today's opening. Tang Yi stood aside with a smile, watching a famous player excitedly walk down from the game cabin. Mom, this game is so exciting. It's so addictive, I really want to fly again. Today is my second time playing and I finally tried the manual operation mode. However, in less than 10 seconds, I crashed. It's too professional and difficult, but I dare say, this is definitely the most fun flight simulation game cabin on the market. A group of tourists were excitedly discussing. At the same time, he took out his phone and charged 5,000 for his membership card and 10,000 for that one. In no time, Tang Yi received nearly 80,000 yuan in business expenses. On the side, Lu Yuan stood watching with a hesitant expression. How could such a national treasure be treated as a facility in an amusement park, allowing ordinary people to participate? And they still naively treat it as a game. At this moment, Lu Yuan was extremely anxious in his heart, wishing to snatch this instrument back into the team and offer it as a treasure. Why haven't the people up here come yet? Lu Yuan muttered anxiously. At this moment, the sky roared, and Lu Yuan's body trembled. He suddenly looked up and showed an excited expression. And this huge commotion immediately caught the attention of the on-site tourists, many of whom looked up at the sky with a stunning expression. Sleeping slot. Wuzhi X10. Sharp-eyed tourists can recognize the origin of these helicopters at a glance. It's only less than 5 minutes. Accompanied by the clearing of an open area in the seaside park, 3 Wuzhi 10 and 1 G8 slowly landed, and more than 10 elderly men with white hair, male and female, walked down from the cabin. Without exception, everyone had a solemn expression, resembling those of intellectuals. At the same time, a 50-member military special forces team charged into the seaside park with live ammunition. Blocked off the 4 gates in the southeast, northwest, and northwest corners, only leaving but not entering, and surrounded them. Following suit, another 20-person special operations team, dressed in uniform and holding QBZ-95 rifles, ran in an orderly manner towards the UU World Amusement Park, and immediately pulled up a cordon to block the area. Sleeping slot. Tourists lined up in a queue of over 100 meters, their heads pounding with confusion. Old ties, I'm in Boss Tang's shop now. Everyone knows that a very popular game cabin was developed by Boss Tang these days, and it is also. The anchor just had the privilege of experiencing a flight simulation. I can no longer describe the shock in my heart with any words, I can only summarize it with a single sentence, lying down. This is definitely the most fun and advanced flight game simulation cabin on the market. A group of anchors, including Tan Kuer and Yi Xiaomei, gathered at the entrance of Tang Yi's store, excitedly riding on the popularity of the store. Then, the barrage in the live broadcast room exploded directly. Sleeping trough, what's the situation? There's a big deal going on, many soldiers. I heard that the seaside park has been sealed off by the military. Anchor, turn around quickly, you're surrounded. The live broadcast room was in an uproar. Tan Kuer's beautiful eyes were round and she just turned her head. Hello, this is my identification. Please turn off your mobile network immediately. A soldier walked over and saluted with a snap. In an instant, all anchors and even tourists on site have their mobile phones blocked from internet signals. Tan Kuer's face turned pale in an instant. Oh my God, what's wrong with this? Exclaimed in my heart with a turn of her head. Tan Kuer suddenly widened her eyes. A few hundred people who had just queued up at the scene were cleared in less than a minute. Following closely, a group of elderly men with white hair, escorted by several special forces soldiers, slowly walked into Tang Yi's shop. Tang Yi. Lu Yuan took a deep breath and stepped forward. Taking out my identification, I introduced myself and said, my name is Lu Yuan, and I belong to a brigade in the Eastern Theater Command, the Blue Sky Sword Flying Brigade. The reason why this scene happened, I believe you had anticipated it earlier, yes, is related to the flight game simulation module behind you. Lu Yuan said in a stern voice. Tang Yi fell silent. This is Mr. Zhao from the 507 Academy of Military Sciences, the chief engineer of Longwa's 6th-generation fighter RD. Subsequently, Lu Yuan received instructions from above and respectfully pointed to a spirited elderly man in his 50s among the visitors, introducing himself. People from the military and military academies. At this moment, Tang Yi is a bit confused. It's just that things happened too suddenly. Although he had anticipated such a scene a long time ago, it came too soon. A few seconds later, Tang Yi took a deep breath and his mind remained calm. Welcome forward and say, hello, sir. Hello, Xiao Tang. Zhao Dingshan's eyes shone brightly as he shook hands with Tang Yi. In the next moment, his eyes lit up, and he was immediately attracted by the flying game deck of the Lingyun 6th-generation fighter jet in front of him. This. Zhao Lao's face turned red and he suddenly turned his head to look at Tang Yi. When the sound comes up. Xiao Tang, have you ever heard a sentence? The world leader in the field of air combat is the first to serve the 6th-generation aircraft of various countries around the world. Seeking a wave of fresh flower tickets, at least 6 shifts today. Chapter 9. A buried research genius. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Tang Yi nodded. As a fan of the Puppet Army, he certainly knows the influence of the 6th-generation fighter jets on the future air combat field. Hey, compared to those old powers, our country has slowed down a lot. Zhao Lao sighed and said, so please understand, I suddenly heard that a 6th-generation fighter simulator has appeared. Although it is used in games, we also have to take it seriously. Upon hearing this, Tang Yi was lost in thought. Just looking at the devout gaze of the old man, Tang Yi seemed to understand the beliefs behind it. Sir, please. Tang Yi walked up with a respectful and solemn expression. Okay, then I'll take a look. Zhao Dingshan nodded and, with the help of Tang Yi, sat in the game cabin. Good guy. As soon as the old man sat down and glanced at the material facilities in the game cabin, his brilliance flashed. Sir, because the game cabin is 100% simulated, for your health's sake, I will set you to a normal flight mode. Tang Yi explained. Line. Zhao Dingshan chuckled and said, Old man, I have studied many fighter jet simulator systems throughout my life. This is the first time I have played in an amusement park. At this moment, he is also very curious about what he will see and experience. 5 minutes later. The cockpit cover bounced up, and Zhao Dingshan's scalp tingled as he walked out in a daze. Too real, too powerful. Zhao Dingshan was so excited that his words were incoherent, and his trembling voice kept going. Mr. Zhao. Several other aerospace research experts, as well as those involved in the development of the 6th-generation fighter jet, showed a bewildered expression. They were brought over by military helicopters today and thought something big had happened. Result. Surprisingly, I ran to an amusement park and played a game cabin called Happy Little Plane. Isn't this kind of gaming cabin just a simulation flight game? But at this moment, Mr. Zhao, after experiencing it for a while, surprisingly had such an expression on his face. Is there really any magic in this game cabin? You all go and experience it one by one. Zhao Dingshan didn't say much, but excitedly ordered everyone to experience each one. That. Tang Yi stepped forward awkwardly upon seeing this. Sir, cough cough cough, we have to charge for this game cabin. He awkwardly smiled and said. It's not that he's reluctant, nor is it that he wants to take advantage of the country. But this is a system rule, and he needs to receive more tourists as soon as possible in order to obtain more props and black technology. Don't worry. Zhao Dingshan said straightforwardly, the country won't even be unable to afford this amount of money. Today we are here to experience your flight simulator, and the country will compensate you for any losses. Upon hearing this, Tang Yi rubbed his head and chuckled, that's great. Immediately, Lingyun, a senior engineer from the Aerospace industry group responsible for the J.X series, was the second to board the Lingyun flight game module. At the beginning, he is still a bit casual. But after experiencing it for a few minutes, the top scientific research expert who received the National Special Allowance walked out with a pale face. My scalp was numb and I was so excited that I kept screaming, it's unbelievable, how did this happen? In just half an hour. Top experts and engineers from 507 military academies and Dragon Academy of Sciences from Aerospace Industry Group have gradually experienced this flight simulator. Result. Naturally, everyone was shaken. Blood flowed back all over my body, so excited that I couldn't speak. Is this a game deck? How could this TM be a flying game deck? Wait until later. In the Eastern Theater Command, the leader of the Air Force Flight Base, Wang Chonglin, and others arrived and also experienced the experience together. There was a complete uproar on site. That's amazing. This is the most advanced fighter jet flight simulator I've ever seen. Wang Chonglin kept gasping for air and said, even our military, no military institution at home or abroad can produce such an advanced fighter flight simulation system. It's unbelievable. Everyone glanced at each other and exchanged glances. Qi Shushua looked at Tang Yi, unsure of what to say. On the contrary, it was Mr. Zhao who came to his senses and murmured, but as everyone has seen and experienced, this is indeed a sixth-generation fighter simulator. Of course, perhaps it was created for gaming at the moment of its birth, but there is no doubt that it has the function of becoming a military fighter pilot and conducting flight simulation training. Even, there are various perfect flight modes, including hardware and software facilities, systems, and so on, which can be called perfect. Take a deep breath. Zhao Lao looked at Tang Yi and said in a trembling voice, "Xiao Tang, is this simulator called Lingyun?" "Yes." Tang Yi nodded. "Where did it come from?" "I invented it myself." At this moment, Tang Yi remained calm and said, because he had already communicated with the system earlier. The system is fully prepared, using magical powers to tamper with the timeline of this world, as well as Tang Yi's personal character settings. Because in this lifetime, Tang Yi himself is a graduate of the University of Science and Technology, and has been obsessed with scientific research since childhood. Is it strange for buried scientific researchers to develop a flight simulation system in order to start their own business? Of course not strange. As long as he is a genius. Upon hearing this, Mr. Zhao was shocked and lost his color. "Did you invent it yourself?" "But I have seen various data parameters and numerous settings in the game system." "How did you do it alone?" Tang Yi smiled but did not answer. But on the side, many experts, including Lu Yuan, couldn't help but tremble, and two words appeared in their hearts. Genius. Chapter 10. Negotiating business with the military and obtaining the second item. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the scene, everyone looked at Tang Yi with strange eyes. "I see." Zhao nodded and looked at Tang Yi with a serious expression, saying, "Xiao Tang, I know our requirements are a bit excessive, but can you back up a copy of the system in the game cabin you are researching and send it to the Academy of Military Sciences? Because of your system, which involves various settings of the sixth-generation fighter jet, although it is just a game concept, I believe it has an immensely significant driving force on our research and development." The old man said with the most sincere gaze. "No problem." Tang Yi smiled and said, "I am a dragon man. It is only natural for me to contribute to the country. Immediately take out a prepared USB drive and hand it to the other party. Of course, due to some personal reasons, this game deck cannot be handed over to you, but..." Tang Yiduan paused and glanced at the military leaders. Then he gritted his head and said, "Chief, if your Air Force pilots are interested, you can come to me anytime to experience it. Cough, I'm a patriotic young man, so let's give it a 50% discount." Upon hearing this, Wang Changlin and Lu Yuan from the military immediately exchanged glances. "This is a promotion, it's too bold." "Chief." Lu Yuan stood up and his voice became urgent. "This game deck cannot be underestimated. I just experienced it once, but I have a feeling that if our pilots could conduct flight training in this simulation module, perhaps it would definitely have an unimaginable huge impact on actual combat flight and combat." Lu Yuan didn't know what to say. He had just flown for less than 10 minutes and was completely conquered by this Lingyun flight simulator. The incredibly realistic sense of flight, as well as the control system, flight system, and even firepower system that surpasses the J.20, all left him stunned. And in the flight simulator system, those detailed data parameters. It seems to be telling a chilling fact. Tang Yi, it seems that they are also studying sixth-generation fighter jets. Although it's just a game. But being able to simulate it through games is also terrifying. Of course I know the significance of this flight simulator. Wang Changlin solemnly said. As the supervisor of the flight training base, Wang Changlin is well aware of its significant strategic significance. You should know. Regardless of which country's fighter pilots are, they must undergo a large number of simulated flights before they can proceed with beginner-level simulation, two-person pilot flight, and further deployment, actual combat flight, and so on. The improvement of pilot strength must be accumulated through a large number of practical flights, which consume manpower, material resources, and money that ordinary people cannot imagine. But now, the flight simulator in front of me, which claims to be a game cabin, seems to be able to enable fighter pilots to influence their real-life flight level through virtual training. After all, it's too realistic and the system is too powerful. What else can't even reflect the G-value of maneuvering overload? Mr. Tang. Wang Changlin's eyes were burning as he said, I know this request is very abrupt, but please consider whether to sell this flight simulation module to the military. The price will definitely satisfy you. Upon hearing this, Tang Yi quickly shook his head and said, Chief, it's not that I'm not patriotic, it's really not possible. He gave a bitter smile and said, this game deck can be said to be my hard work. It took a lot of effort to make it. Of course, if possible later on, I will provide the military with design drawings and so on. Tang Yi said calmly. Upon hearing this, Wang Changlin and Zhao Dingshan exchanged a glance. Old Wang, you have exceeded this request. Zhao Dingshan quickly came out to make amends and said, don't mention this, otherwise if it spreads, you might think we're going to embezzle the private property of citizens. How could that be? Wang Changlin smiled bitterly at the words and quickly explained, isn't this a momentary anxiety? As he spoke, he looked at Tang Yi and said seriously, don't worry, Xiao Tang. We won't do such a thing. Tang Yi naturally expressed his understanding on the spot. Let's do it this way. Wang Changlin looked at Lu Yuan and narrowed his eyes, saying, you immediately contact the members of the flying team and ask them to come over. In the future, every week, make time to come to Xiao Tang's place for unified simulation flight training. All expenses are covered by military expenses, after all, we cannot take advantage of the common people. Understood. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuan was overjoyed and immediately took out his phone to contact the team members. Xiao Tang, what do you think of this? Tang Yi smiled and nodded. He has just confirmed with the system that by redeeming pleasure points, he can also redeem similar flight simulation game cabins. Later on, I can expand my business and it will not just be a gaming cabin, but 2, 3, or even more. Regular tourist players and the military can also achieve supply balance. And on the military side, I didn't think too much about it either. This is just a game cabin. After all, nowadays military forces of various countries use some electronic games to train soldiers. Even if someone with ulterior motives sees it and spreads it online, it's not a big deal, after all, this matter has already been hotly debated online. Okay, that's it for now. Xiao Tang, don't worry, the country will reward you. Zhao Dingshan received the system configuration data of the 6th generation fighter jet of the Lingyun, spoke to Tang Yi with great seriousness, and then left with his people in a hurry. On Wang Chanlin's side, he waved his hand. Xiao Tang, come to our flight base as a guest when you have time. As he spoke, he turned around and left. Only Lu Yuan remained, waiting for his teammates to arrive. As soon as the military leaves, the amusement park has also lifted its blockade. The tourists who were cleared to the nearby area, including anchors like Tan Ke, were all watching with wide eyes and excited expressions. After seeing the reopening of the UU World Amusement Park, one by one, they rushed in shouting loudly. My goodness, Boss Tang, what kind of drama are you singing? Even the military has come over. Boss Tang is really wiping his buttocks with gauze. He missed out on me. Those people just now were definitely special forces, ah. I know now, they must have come for that game deck. We common people all know that this thing is immortal farting. Extraordinary, not to mention the official people. A group of people were howling excitedly. Tang Yi showed no response. Because this will. The system prompt sounds in my mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing one of the main tasks, receiving over 100 tourists and rewarding the amusement equipment with Crazy Spin. Crazy Rotation, attribute. Can simulate any high-speed rotation mode, providing an exciting experience that surpasses any other amusement facility in the world, such as a pendulum or pirate ship. Please note that this amusement facility can be switched to both the regular and professional versions. Normal is a game mode that ordinary people can afford. The professional version is custom-made for astronauts and can simulate professional-level aerospace overweight endurance, gravity stall, anti-dizziness training, and more. Ding. Main Task 2 opens. Receive over 500 tourists and reward amusement equipment for Fishing Battle.